I've got the training recording beginning and recording begun. I need to start over. I've started recording the training. I guess talking on a Tuesday morning is hard for me to do. We will make this recording available on the Nutrition Services website. We understand we're going to share a lot of information with you today, and you may want to review the training or go back and listen to a segment of it. So, like I said, we'll make that training available on the Nutrition Services website, and we'll also send out a link directly to the YouTube channel where that training will be located, so you can access it through the email we send as well. A couple of housekeeping items we want to make sure you're aware of. We would love it if you submit your questions in the Zoom chat at any time you think of it during the training content today. And we'll take time to respond to those questions at the conclusion of the training slides. We also appreciate when you unmute and ask questions during that question and answer time at the conclusion of training too. So please feel free to use either of those methods to make sure you walk away from this training having all of your questions answered and have as many details as you need to be able to help support this effort. As the season of Summer EBT progresses, though, we know you may have new questions that emerge. They might be ones directly from you as you work with this data that you need to submit to us. It might be questions that you receive from households, parents, or guardians about their students' Summer EBT benefits. We encourage you to submit those questions directly to the Summer EBT email inbox. And you can see that email address on the screen right here. It's nde.sebt@nebraska.gov. Megan and I both monitor that inbox, though Megan spends a lot more time making sure that questions received there are answered, and she's very diligent about providing a timely response. And I want to make sure you're aware that it's a federal requirement to issue benefits to eligible students. And that's where we need your school's help to ensure that that gets done. So we're going to walk through and talk about what makes a student eligible for Summer EBT, what information needs to be provided for that student, and then how the cards are issued to their addresses. But before we get started with Summer EBT content, I wanted to take an opportunity to make sure you're aware of a requirement of your school because of its participation in the USDA's National School Lunch Program. Even if your school does not participate in or operate a summer food service program meal site during the summer, they are required to share information with households of its enrolled students about how to locate summer food service program meal service sites during the summer. So here on the screen, I've provided a very short example of a newsletter blurb that you could use. It could also be something you post on your school's website for easy access by parents or households of students enrolled in your school. It really just instructs them to visit this online SFSP site finder in order to find information about the operating SFSP sites in your area. So you can search by zip code, city and state, or even by a street address to help locate summer food service program sites nearest you or nearest that address that you provide. The map looks like the screenshot I've provided at the bottom of that slide, where you can see the search bar is highlighted in yellow. And then the results are going to display the names and street addresses of the operating sites in 2025. They're also going to provide information about the meal service start and end dates for the summer period, as well as the meal types those sites are approved to serve, and then the meal service start and end times. So even if your school does not operate the SFSP, you are required to provide a blurb like the one up here that promotes or supports the program by providing a way for households to identify an SFSP site near them in case they need help providing nutritious meals to their children during summer break. So if your school participates in the SFSP, you already do this because, of course, you're advertising the locations and meal service information about your sites. But if you're a school that operates the school lunch and or breakfast programs, but you do not participate in the summer food service program, you still must provide this information in a way that households can access. This is a piece of the administrative review components or requirements that we would evaluate during that process as well. So please make sure you provide this information and can provide that proof to one of our teammates or staff members during the administrative review process. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me anytime and we can provide you some help. We encourage you to make sure you get this information shared sometime during the month of April and or May, because as you know, school is probably going to be released sometime in mid-May. We want to make sure that families have repeated opportunities or enough time to see this message so that they could access the site finder or would know how to access the site finder to get information about SFSP sites near them. So thanks for your time and attention on that one. Now we'll move on to very important upfront, like top of mind details about summer EBT data submission. And I want to make sure you know and understand that no matter if your school operates the summer food service program or not, your school is required to submit data for eligible students. So this is a pretty common question, right? From a school we have received. I serve summer meal service. I operate summer food service program sites and serve summer meals through that program. Am I still required to submit this data for eligible students? Yes, you are. I don't serve SFSP meals. Do I still have to do this summer EBT thing? Yes, you do. Okay. Your school participates in the National School Lunch and or Breakfast programs. Therefore, you are required to provide information about students who are eligible for summer EBT. And we're going to talk about what makes a student eligible for summer EBT and how you would know that. So no matter what, summer meals or not, you are required to submit data for students eligible to receive the summer EBT grocery purchasing cards. So I'm going to run through very quickly just some basic background information about the summer EBT program. Then we're going to look more in depth about what kinds of students qualify for summer EBT. And for those of you in the room with me today who are the leads on program benefit issuance and certification for the school meals program, this is going to be really familiar to you, right? This is terminology and a space you work in every day. That's not going to be new or different for summer EBT. You're going to see lots of parallels here. And the work you do on the school side with benefit issuance and certification is exactly what we would utilize for determining eligibility for summer EBT benefits. Then we're going to talk about how to correctly provide information about those eligible students, because for many of them, we need to get that information directly from the schools in which they're enrolled, which is you all. And then we'll run through briefly some resources and frequently asked questions we've received from schools, and then take any questions that you might type in the chat or unmute to ask at the end of the training. So basic background on summer EBT is that it is a permanent program that authorizes $40 per month for 3 months of summer for every child who qualifies. It's intended to help support or meet nutritional needs when school's not in session and students do not have access to breakfast and lunch like they do during the school year. I want to clarify that summer EBT is not the same thing as pandemic EBT. And for those of you who've been working in the school meals world for several years, you probably remember PEBT. And eligibility for that program was based in part on COVID illness-related absence. And that has nothing to do with this permanent program. PEBT was allowed during a public health emergency. This is not that. Congress passed a law funding summer EBT, making it a permanent program, and has no bearing on any kind of illness-related absence from school. Quick reminder, you've heard me say this about 10 times, schools that operate the SFSP and serve meals to children ages 1 through 18 through that program must also provide information about students who qualify to receive summer EBT cards, okay? Even if your school serves meals during summer break, you still must provide this information for the free and reduced eligible students in your school because they qualify to receive the summer EBT card with $120 of grocery purchasing funds. Okay. Let's delve deeper into determining or identifying who or which kinds of students qualify to receive summer EBT. There are two requirements for students to qualify. The first of those is that they're enrolled at a school that participates in the National School Lunch or Breakfast Program, and they attend your school during the school day, and part of their school day provides them with access to those school lunch or school breakfast program meals. So this could include preschoolers who receive meals during even a half of a school day, and those meals are served and claimed through the National School Lunch and or breakfast programs. Okay? So they attend a school that participates in the NSLP or SBP, that's lunch and breakfast programs. During their school day, they are served one or both of those meals through the program, and that individual student has identified eligibility for free or reduced price meals in the current school year. I'm going to say both of those one more time, right? We're working on the assumption that everyone in this room represents a school that participates in the National School Lunch and or Breakfast programs, and the students enrolled in your school have access to one or both of those meals during their school day. This can include preschool students who attend school for a half day and eat one or both of those meals during their school day. Okay, in addition to that requirement, students eligible to receive summer EBT must also have documented individual eligibility for free or reduced price meals during the current school year. Okay, so for you benefit issuance and certification experts in the room, that should be information you have in your point of sale system already, right? Utilizing direct certification and meal applications received and processed by the school is how you identify students eligible for free or reduced price meals during the school year. Those same students are eligible to receive summer EBT cards. Okay, so that's the group of students we need to receive information from you, okay? Just to reiterate, this would include pre-K or preschool children who have access to one or both of those school meals through the National School Lunch Program and or the National School Breakfast Program. This would not include, though, younger than kindergarten age children who have an NDE ID because they receive services but do not come to school for regular education. It's possible that children within a school's attendance area receive support or additional services. They receive an NDE ID to accompany those services, but they're not really attending school for academic instruction. Those students or those children would not be eligible to receive summer EBT. They have to be in the school building, and they have to have access to the school breakfast and or school lunch program meals during their school day. Okay. And more information that's very familiar to those of you in the room who are in charge of or responsible for benefit issuance and certification for school meals benefits. What you see here is a review of what we provide in bookkeeper training, or a review of what you do in your day-to-day job. You already know that students are identified as eligible for free or reduced price meals because they are directly certified or matched for meal benefits based on their status as participants of SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, some types of Medicaid that identifies them as eligible for free or reduced meals, or directly certified as a foster child. You also know that children enrolled in your school who are not on the match list but who live with a student matched for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, Medicaid free, or Medicaid reduced are eligible for meal benefits during the school year. That also makes them eligible to receive summer EBT. The other categorically eligible students for meal benefits include migrant and homeless students for whom you would have documentation of their current migrant or homeless status. They receive free meals during the school year. They're also eligible to receive summer EBT. Okay. And the final group of students who would be identified as eligible for benefits, free or reduced price meal benefits during the school year, would be those households that submit a meal application to be processed by the school It would contain income and household size information, or possibly have a master case number for SNAP. So those meal applications you've received, processed, and determined are eligible for free or reduced price meals would also be children who are eligible for summer EBT. So those first 4 points on this slide, the top 4 there in blue text, is information very familiar to you who do benefit issuance and certification for school meals. All the students who receive free or reduced price meals during the school year are also eligible to receive summer EBT. And those are the students we need to receive information for to ensure they are issued an SEBT card. Okay, somewhat different from that are students who do not qualify for free or reduced price meals during the school year by utilization of one of the 4 methods written in blue here, but who may become eligible because of new participation in one of the benefit programs like SNAP or Medicaid, or who experience a change in household income that makes them eligible for free or reduced price meals, or in the summertime would make them eligible for summer EBT. So for students and children who experience that kind of change that results in new eligibility identification during the summertime, are not going to try to qualify for summer EBT by working through you, the school. They're going to complete the application for summer EBT benefits directly through the Department of Education. Okay, so you're responsible for providing information for students who qualify for free or reduced price meals at any point during the current school year. And then for any newly eligible children or students during summer break, right, they would be identified as eligible and would receive a card because they complete the application process through the Department of Education. We know that many buildings, school buildings in Nebraska participate in the community eligibility provision, and the students who attend school in these buildings do not automatically qualify for summer EBT, even though they do receive meals at no cost through the CEP. So for those students enrolled in CEP buildings, they have to have individual student eligibility documentation or determination provided for them. I'm going to repeat that one more time. We know that students enrolled in CEP buildings receive meals at no cost through the National School Lunch and School Breakfast programs. That does not mean that every one of those students is truly eligible for free or reduced price meals, and therefore we need individual eligibility determinations for students in order to include them in the group of students that are eligible to receive summer EBT cards, okay? So CEP buildings should still be utilizing the direct certification match list, where you would be able to identify which students enrolled in a CEP building participate in SNAP, Medicaid free, Medicaid reduced, TANF, and FDPIR. You may also see those foster, homeless, and migrant students on the direct certification match list, but you may receive information for those students by another means, probably a paper form, perhaps, with a determination of current eligibility for homeless or migrant status. And that would work as that individual eligibility for those qualifying students as well. So either direct certification or documentation from the homeless or migrant agency that made the current determination are ways that you can identify those individually eligible students who attend a CEP school. If a student is not directly certified, you don't have that supporting documentation from the homeless or migrant agency that made the current determination, those students would have the option to complete the summer EBT application that's available online and is processed by the NDE. Okay, so you're relying solely on direct certification, and for homeless or migrant students, perhaps an eligibility document of some type that identifies they have that current homeless or migrant status. So directly certified, current homeless or migrant status are the types of students with that individual eligibility for free or reduced price meals that would also make them eligible for summer EBT benefits. And those are students we need to receive information for. Okay. You would not provide a complete list of students enrolled in a CEP building as identified as eligible for summer EBT benefits, right? Just because those students receive no-cost meals through that provision their school building participates in does not confer that individual student eligibility for summer EBT, okay? Feel free to ask questions about that as you navigate your data. If you have are representing a district that has CEP buildings operating within it. Okay, so we've identified who qualifies for summer EBT. That's all the students who have that individual eligibility determination for free or reduced price meals during the school year. Now that you know who to include, let's talk a little bit more about how to correctly provide information for those eligible students so that we can issue benefits to the households in which they reside. First of all, right, attending this training is step number one, because it's intended to provide you with information you need to identify students and then put that data together in a format that our system can accept. So good job for being here today. You've done step one. We're going to review the summer EBT data file requirements, and they're pretty specific. So you'll have to pay close attention to what we ask you to provide. Some of those fields are required while others are optional, but there is a standard format that we need that information to be provided in so that the system will accept it and benefits can be issued to the households of those children. So we'll talk about aggregating data and correctly populating that summer EBT template. And finally, we'll share a couple of pictures about how and where you would upload that approved template into the NDE portal. And I know some of you may have already begun working on aggregating the data and completing the template based on information provided in the summer EBT update email sent on March 26th. And that's great that you've been working on that. If you've tried to submit your file in the portal, it's not open and ready to accept those submissions just yet, but it will be open and ready to accept what you can provide on Monday, April 14th. So I didn't say this earlier, but we will of course share the slides along with the recording of the training so you can refer to individual slides for information like you see here, where we've put together in a table all the possible scenarios for how a student would qualify for free or reduced price meals and what we ask the school to do for those students based on how they qualify. So I'm not going to go over this slide because I've pulled out each of the 4 rows into its own individual slide so we can make that text a little bit bigger and easier to read. But what you're seeing now is it all aggregated into a single place for you. And so here's that first row, where on the left we see the scenario is that the students are directly certified for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, Medicaid free, or Medicaid reduced. And the action you would take is that you don't really have to do anything to provide information for those kinds of students to us, because those programs are administered by the Department of Health and Human Services, where they do have those students' mailing addresses, their parent or guardian names, and all of the other information that's required to issue a card to those households. So if it is somewhat easier or less cumbersome for you to pull out students who are directly certified for SNAP, TANF, FDPIR, Medicaid free, or Medicaid reduced, then you can do that and you do not have to provide that information to us in the summer EBT template. However, we do realize that separating or pulling out some students might take more time and be more effort for you, and we want to keep this process as simple as we can. It doesn't sound simple, but definitely want to do what we can to accommodate your busy schedules. If it's easier for you to leave those students in and include them in your summer EBT template, that is fine. We take steps to ensure benefits are not duplicated or issued twice or 3 times to the same child. So you can pull those directly certified students out of your data submission, but you do not have to. You can leave them in if it's a simpler and easier process for you to provide their information in the summer EBT template. So that is definitely your choice. But I think it's worth noting that if you get questions from parents, guardians, households about if their student will receive a summer EBT card, you go into your system and look up information about the student where you can see they're a SNAP, a Medicaid student, something like that, from which they get school meals benefits. You can assure them that their card is going to be issued early in the summer EBT issuance because they participate in one of those programs. They do not have to apply for the program benefits in any way at all. DHHS has that information, and yeah, they've got everything they need. So that might be a useful FAQ for you to be able to respond to any questions you might get from households. Okay, what about those students that are identified as foster, homeless, or migrant, or that you have other documentation to support their benefits from that program? We definitely need you to complete the Summer EBT template to provide information for those children. Sometimes children are identified for those programs or benefits through those options in a way that does not have anything to do with administration or management through a DHHS program. That means DHHS doesn't have mailing address information for these kinds of students, and the school would be the most accurate and current source of information, especially for parent or guardian info and mailing address. So we do need you to include information for these students in your Summer EBT template. Okay, so please provide to us information for students who have current identification as foster, migrant, or homeless. We rely on you to get information that is current and correct for those kinds of students. I should note for homeless students, it is acceptable for you to confirm with them, those households, that they may want the school address to be the address provided in the Summer EBT information. That means the benefit card would get mailed to the school, and the parent or guardian could come pick up the card from the school if they do not have a different mailing address that works for them because of their homeless status. Okay, so for homeless students, it is okay for the card to be issued to the school as long as the parent or guardian agrees with that and knows the card will be waiting for them, that they should come get it in order to activate and use the funds on it. Okay. There is also a group of students who receive meal benefits extended to them because they live with a student matched for SNAP, Medicaid free, or Medicaid reduced. These extended benefit students are not identified in any database that DHHS maintains, right? They have the information for the student who directly participates in one of those programs, but they are not aware of potentially any other students who live in the same household. So in the school meals program, you extend the free or reduced price meal benefits from a student matched on one of those programs to any other students who live in the same household. That also makes those other students eligible for Summer EBT. But again, we rely on you, the school, to provide us with who those students are, and then that other information we require for them, which would be their parent or guardian first and last name, as well as their current mailing address. So for students who receive benefits extended to them from the direct certification system or process, we would require those to be included in the data that you submit to the NDE so that a Summer EBT card can be issued to them. And then our last group of students, or last scenario in the table, are those students who qualify for free or reduced price meals because they have an approved current school year's meal application that would have been determined based on household size and income, or perhaps a master case number for SNAP, TANF, or FDPIR was provided, and that application was reviewed, processed, and approved as eligible for free or reduced price meals. Again, the school is the only source of information we have for these students. We rely on your accurate determinations on those applications that were submitted for school meals benefits, and we rely on information you can provide for their parent or guardian, as well as their mailing address to which the Summer EBT card will be issued. So again, these are also a type of benefit student or student receiving school meals benefits who you would need to include in your summer EBT file upload so that a summer EBT card can be issued to the household in which they live.
Katie, I'm going to
Community,
interrupt you for
yeah,
just a
please.
second. Rose said that foster is listed in 2 places on the different slides. Which one is correct? I just want to address this before we move past,
Um,
because I'll forget what slide it is.
some, okay, yeah, I don't know which slide it is. Some students who are foster would be identified in the direct certification list. It's also possible that you could see foster marked on a meal application, okay? And you would receive some, and you would take that at face value. That doesn't need any other additional documentation. So I guess there's two sources of information for foster children. They could be identified as such in the direct cert list, or you could receive a meal application where foster is marked on it. No other information about household size is provided, or income is provided, but you would make the determination that that student is eligible for free meals. I hope that clears that up, Rose. I will make sure we put that in the frequently asked questions and provide an update to the slides to reflect your question. So I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. Do you think that answers that one, Megan?
Yes.
Okay.
Rose, if it doesn't, please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Let us know, Rose. I've continued to be confusing. Okay, well, we'll wait to see if you have more to say about that, Rose. Definitely want to clear that up while we're all together. So thanks for bringing that up. Going to revisit some information about the community eligibility provision schools and the students who attend them. Some CEP schools provide an alternate application for a benefit that the school offers that is not related to school meals benefits. As you know, students in those buildings receive reimbursable meals at no cost, but some other benefits or discounts offered through school districts are based on the same income guidelines as the school meals program uses in a traditional pricing program where you have free, reduced, and paid kids and they pay accordingly, right? Well, even if your CEP building utilizes this kind of alternate application, the determination made on those students who submit that alternate income form or alternate income application cannot be used to identify students eligible for summer EBT. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but here is why. That alternate income application does not have all of the same data requirements or informational requirements that are identified in the summer EBT regulations and what those regs require that program application to include. So there's discrepancies here between what most schools' alternate income forms require and what the summer EBT application requires. And because those are not identical, at least not in Nebraska, that means we cannot utilize that alternate income form as a way to qualify a student in a CEP building as eligible to receive summer EBT. Okay, so like we said several slides ago, students who attend a CEP building qualify for summer EBT because they're on the direct cert match list. They live with a student matched for SNAP or one of the qualifying types of Medicaid or TANF or FDPIR. You've got that current documentation of migrant or homeless status from the agency that makes those determinations. Or, this is new, I did not mention this before, this child who attends school in a CEP building lives with a student who attends a non-CEP traditional pricing building who has that determination for free or reduced price meals based on direct cert or based on the submission of a meal application with household size and income or provided a master case number for SNAP. So some of the districts in Nebraska have a mix of some CEP buildings and some traditional pricing buildings. Student A attends a CEP building. Student B attends a regular traditional pricing program building. They completed a meal application with all of the students' names on it. really for the intention of that student B in the pricing program to be eligible for free or reduced price meals. Yet it had all the students in that household on it, including student A from the CEP building. It was determined to be eligible for free meals. That means that student who is on the meal application submitted for the purpose of student B at the pricing program could still qualify because they're on this application. Their name and information about how they qualify or live in a household that qualifies is available. So that's another way you would identify a student eligible for summer EBT, even though they attend a CEP building and get no cost meals through that program. If you have questions about this after you've taken time to process that information, please do not hesitate to ask. I want to reiterate, you should not be including all students enrolled in a CEP building in your summer EBT file. They need to have that individual eligibility determination for free or reduced price meals in order to be included. Of course, there's a variety of ways that can be done, and that's displayed on the slide here. But if you reach a scenario you're not sure, do I include this student or not? Please reach out to us. We want to help make sure you provide the information for the correctly identified students. And I know there's a lot of nuance in here, and I hope it makes sense now, but I know when you get into those scenarios of mixed families and kids in different buildings or even different districts, it can be a little bit confusing. So want to make sure you know to reach out to us to get answers to those kinds of questions. Okay, so now we know the kinds of students we would include in the summer EBT file because they're eligible to receive the card. We've got to receive the information for them, vet that, right? Determine those kids are enrolled in Nebraska schools, remove any duplicate submissions that might exist, and then we share that data with DHHS. And from there, the cards are issued. Okay, so what you see displayed on the screen here is what the data file or template that we use for summer EBT looks like. And you'll see it's got two tabs or two sheets in the file. One is the definitions. That identifies all of the fields in the data file, right? All the information you would be asked to provide for every individual student eligible for free or reduced price meals, who has access to breakfast and or lunch during their school day. And you'll notice that 4 of these are optional data fields that are not required. We do require lines 1 or rows 1 and 2, which is parent or guardian first and last name. We appreciate if you can provide the primary language spoken. That helps us provide or know what kinds of support we need to provide to people who do not speak English as their first language. Of course, we require that you provide the most accurate, most recently known address in row 4, which is address line 1. This is the place that the card is going to be mailed to. Address line 2 is optional. Not all addresses require both of those, right? But city, state, and zip code, of course, would be required pieces of data for each student. It's optional to provide the parent phone and email address. But DHHS utilizes text message support for recipients of the summer EBT cards. It includes some nutrition education information, support for purchasing nutritious and healthy foods with the funds on the card, as well as reminders about when the funds on the card will have expired and can no longer be used. So support for helping make sure the work you've done to provide information for eligible households, it really gets utilized by the families. We want to make sure they use the funds on the card because of all the resources that have been put into making this program possible. We, of course, also need to know the student's first and last name, their date of birth, formatted exactly as you see on the screen here, 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and 4-digit year. This date of birth is used by the parent or guardian to activate the card. So making sure those dates of birth are correct is essential. If I get even one number off, then that parent or guardian is trying to activate the card using the accurate date of birth. But even one number off here means that's not going to work. And it's going to delay the process of them being able to activate the card and use the funds on the card. And finally, we need you to provide the NDE student ID for the eligible students as well. So those last four pieces of data in rows 11, 12, 13, and 14 are what our data staff uses to validate that those students are enrolled in Nebraska schools that participate in the National School Lunch Program. That's essential for being eligible for summer EBT for many, many students. So making sure that information is accurate helps us also validate that data a little bit faster and pass that information on to DHHS so that cards can be issued. So the summer EBT file upload is called just that in the NDE portal. Again, it's going to open on April 14th with the first submission deadline being April 21st. So the earliest submission deadline, right? If you want to get students enrolled in your school who qualify for summer EBT to receive the cards as early as they possibly can, we need you to submit your data between April 14th and April 21st. You can locate the SEBT file upload in the NDE portal. For those of you who were around and submitted data in 2024, the template has not changed. So if you still have that on your computer, you don't have to go download a new one from the portal. It would be exactly the same one you utilized last year. The app also provides the upload instructions and the template that's required for data submission. So that's available on the portal as well in case you need to access it. So let's cover some resources and frequently asked questions that we've received from schools before we check the chat box and allow you time to unmute and ask your question that way if you'd like to. This table displays the data submission, summer EBT card issuance, and expungement dates. Households who receive cards have 122 days to use the funds on the card. And that 122-day countdown begins on the day of the SEBT card issuance. It is not feasible for us to base that 122 days on the day the household receives the card or the day the household actually activates the card. There's too much fluctuation and variability in that. And the DHHS and NDE are responsible for ensuring we correctly inactivate cards on that 122nd or 23rd date when the funds are supposed to be expunged. So the easiest and most accurate way for us to adhere to that is to have that calendar or countdown of 122 days begin on the issuance date for the cards. So the data submission for the first row is NA. That means there's no data we would receive from schools that would be included in the April 23rd issuance because that first issuance is a big batch of eligible children based on their participation in SNAP and some types of Medicaid. Okay, so like I said, those directly certified students who qualify for meal benefits through SNAP or Medicaid are ones you could pull out because they're going to get issued benefits based on information DHHS has from their administration of those programs, but you don't have to pull them out. They're going to get issued benefits in this first issuance. We will make sure they're not duplicated later if you do include them in the data you provide to us, okay? So if you meet that April 21st submission deadline, which is the second row in the table, students in that data file or data files we receive by that deadline will be issued cards in the May 15th issuance, meaning they should have them by right around May 20th and would have that card in hand beginning on their first day of summer break, maybe a day or two before or after break officially begins. It depends, of course, on your school calendar. Okay, so as you can see in the left-hand column, the deadline by which you submit your data dictates the summer EBT card issuance. And for us to really support provision of the cards to be used when school is out during summer break without access to National School Lunch and Breakfast Program meals, the earlier you submit your data to us for us to validate it or vet it, the earlier those households with eligible children will receive their card and just be more able to use the funds on the card during summer break. Okay. Again, those card issuance dates begins that 122-day countdown to the expungement date, which you see in the right-hand column of the table. So we'll provide this table in follow-up communication that we issue, which would include a link to the recorded training, a document that contains all of our aggregated frequently asked questions about the program as well. And we'll also provide a link to the Summer EBT application. So please pull from that what you can or what you'd like to be able to share with households of your enrolled students. It's going to be the link to the application, this data table, in case you feel will help you respond to questions, information about how households can get customer support from DHHS and NDE, as well as a link to this recording and then the frequently asked questions derived from the recorded sessions and trainings we'll have offered. Okay, some frequently asked questions are next on the list. We have just a few of these, and then we'll open up the chat to see what you have been asking. Should educational service units or ESUs submit student data? I tried to pull most ESU contacts out of information about this because the answer is no. The home school district at which that student is enrolled has been or will be instructed to provide information for eligible students. It's the home school district at which the meal benefits for individual students are being identified. They retain and have that information, so they're going to be advised to include students, all students enrolled in their district, no matter where they might attend their school day. They're going to be instructed to include those students in their summer EBT upload, but it never hurts to communicate to make sure everyone at both places, the homeschool and the ESU, are on the same page. So please don't hesitate to do that. Just know home schools at which students are enrolled have been instructed to provide information, even if for students who attend their school day at an ESU. ESUs are not responsible for this information. The homeschool at which they're enrolled is. Very similar for temporary alternative schools. Again, the home school at which that student is enrolled is responsible for providing information for students who qualify for free or reduced price meals. The temporary alternative school is not responsible for that. But again, please communicate with each other to make sure you're on the same page, right? Make sure you know, both of you know, that the home school is responsible for providing that information. What about residential childcare institutions or RCCIs? Should they submit data for students? Well, that answers a maybe. It depends. Residential students, those who sleep, go to school at the same place, do not need to have their information provided for summer EBT issuance purposes. Residential children or students qualify for free meals just because they are residential, not necessarily based on individual income or household income or participation in another benefit program like SNAP. But some of those RCCIs may have non-residential students who attend school at that location. So if they have their individual identification for free or reduced price meals for school year 24-25, then yes, we would want to have those students submitted as eligible for summer EBT. To my knowledge, none of the RCCIs in Nebraska have non-residential students currently. They are all residential, so we would not expect an RCCI to submit data for any children. Should a data steward include in their summer EBT upload any students who have left the district? And that's a great question. Our answer to that, based on guidance issued from the USDA, is that yes, please include those students in your SEBT file because they did attend your NSLP or school breakfast program participating school, as long as they qualified for free or reduced price meals in the current school year. So if they attended your school last fall, they qualified for reduced price meals, they've left, right? Yes, include them. Even if that information gets submitted by another Nebraska school, our data deduplication process will eliminate a duplication of benefits. But we want to make sure that all eligible students who can receive summer EBT do get it. We don't want anyone to be overlooked. They're eligible even if they attended an NSLP or a school breakfast program participating school for even a portion of the school year. The only time we would want you to not include that student in your data upload is if you know they have moved out of state. They no longer reside in Nebraska, right? At that point, it's the other state's responsibility to make sure the summer EBT is issued to that household. So if you know they have moved and relocated out of the state of Nebraska, do not include them in your data submission for summer EBT. How about an expelled student? How should I handle that? Well, yes, include those expelled students in your summer EBT file because they did attend your national school lunch or school breakfast program participating school and had access to meals through one of those programs during school year 24-25. Remember, they also need to have qualified for free or reduced price meals during their time spent at your school. And similar to the previous question, if a student is expelled and you know they have relocated to a state other than Nebraska, you would not include them in your summer EBT data, okay? We would let that be up to the state they now reside in as to whether or not they're identified as eligible for summer EBT. Just some useful information about card issuance. We want you to know that the entire $120 amount is available on the card from the day they receive it and activate it. It's intended to be $40 each month for 3 months for every eligible child, but the full $120 is available on it from day one, and no additional funds are going to be loaded onto that card. Once the $120 is spent, the card is done and can be discarded, okay? It is correct that households can opt out of the summer EBT issuance, so they may qualify for free or reduced price meals and utilize that benefit for school meals, but they may not want to receive summer EBT. The DHHS website with summer EBT information includes a form that a household can use to say they don't want to receive this card in the mail. They don't want access to these funds for their eligible children. Okay. So we'll include that information and the link to the form in the frequently asked questions we provide at the conclusion of our trainings this week. So then you're able to provide that in communication with households if you want to, or maybe on a case-by-case basis, should you ever receive that kind of question. So we think it's important to know what to share with households in using your usual communication channels, which might be newsletters, text messages, emails, website information. We want to make sure households know that all students residing in their household who qualify for free or reduced price meals in school year 24-25 also qualify for and will receive summer EBT, which again is $120 per qualifying child for the duration of the summer. Okay. The date of card issuance depends on how that student qualifies for summer EBT. As I mentioned several slides ago, those children who participate in SNAP, the qualifying types of Medicaid and TANF, also called temporary assistance, or which stands for temporary assistance for needy families, will be issued benefits in that first big issuance, which is going to go out on April 23rd. Okay. But those who qualify by another means, like a free and reduced meal application submitted to and approved by the school, students who receive free or reduced price meals because benefits have been extended to them because they live with a student directly certified by SNAP or Medicaid, students identified as migrant and or homeless, perhaps some foster students. Their card issuance date would depend on when the school submits data to the NDE via the portal. So again, let's go back and review that data issuance table, right? That first row with card issuance of April 23rd is going to be the kids who participate in SNAP, some types of Medicaid, and TANF. Those programs are administered by DHHS and they have all the information they need to issue cards. For almost all other free and reduced eligible students who also qualify for summer EBT, we rely on schools to provide that information for those eligible students to us so that a card can be issued. Therefore, their card issuance date is going to be dependent on when the school submits data. Okay, so you can see the data submission dates and the corresponding card issuance dates there. So again, that might help you respond to some questions you receive from households. We recognize that support for this program is going to be really important for both you and households of students enrolled in your school. We encourage school staff to email questions about data submission, any upload issues you have with the portal, or any other questions about the data you're putting together for us through the NDE SEBT inbox, which you see the email address here, nde.sebt@nebraska.gov. Alternatively, we encourage you to share information, contact information for DHHS when it comes to responding to household questions or concerns or inquiries about a benefit card. There's a phone number as well as an email address here. I think the written communication is a preference for most who provide the customer service support, because oftentimes to investigate and really get to the root, the bottom of a question that can help provide a more timely answer depends on a lot of details. And sometimes putting those details in writing can help that process proceed quicker or faster. So you can also share with households who have questions that if they email the email address you see on the screen here, which is the dhhs.sebt@nebraska.gov email address, provide the parent or guardian names, their address, a phone number and or email address at which they can be reached, as well as their child's information, they're going to get a much faster response and resolution to an issue they're having with or about their card. So school questions, please come with us. We want to be your primary contact and support for questions you have about data submission. But for questions that households have, we encourage you to provide or encourage the households to reach out to DHHS to get those questions answered. Now is the time we get to review the questions submitted in the chat. I know Megan has been monitoring that, and happy to turn it over to her to begin sharing those questions and then providing answers.
Okay, let's start at the top. Pam asked, are these slides that we can print from today's Zoom? Yes, we can provide them if you would like to have them printed. We'll send them all out and we'll also put them on our website. So even if our school does not participate, we should promote SFSP Site Finder. Yes, that is correct. Josh, so can we put this on our school website? I'm assuming you're talking about SFSP. Yes, we absolutely would like for you to put it on your website. This information will not be available to be posted until May 23rd. Lisa, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
It's about the site finder, I believe. I didn't really see that when we covered the slide, but to respond to your question, I think we encourage schools to tell, like in their blurb of support for summer food service program, that if a parent or guardian or anyone goes to check the site finder like early in May, it's not going to have information populated yet, because our agency's application deadline to participate in summer meals is the first Friday in May, which I think is May 2nd. And we have about 250 sites that participate. So each of those applications requires our staff time to review and approve. And then we generate this file of approved application info that we share with the USDA Site Finder team, and that's used to populate that map. So it just takes several weeks to get that going. So if you let people know up front that they're going to actually see data for Nebraska on or around May 23rd, then it helps prevent you getting questions perhaps like, I tried that thing and there's nothing there, right? So just making sure they know up front that it's going to be late May before they're going to see any data might help prevent some questions coming your way.
Thanks, Katie. All right, Summer asks, so students who are directly certified as well as homeless students and foster care will be who we upload if we are district CEP. So direct certified, that's up to you. If it's not very easy to pull them out, feel free to upload them in your file. It's not necessarily though. Homeless students in foster care, yes, we would ask that you upload to your file. Connie asked, does this include preschool students who receive snack but not a meal and are free and reduced? No, they have to receive a meal at school, either breakfast or lunch. So if we have a preschooler that offered a snack but not lunch or breakfast, oh, I just answered that. Are they eligible for reduced tuition but not breakfast or lunch? Do they need to be included? Um, so the reduced tuition, I'm assuming they have like certain check marks, maybe I'm not sure exactly what would qualify them for it. So if they're not direct cert, they don't receive lunch or breakfast, no, do not include them. To make sure I understand, do children who live out of state of Nebraska qualify? I'm assuming this is probably the student goes to school in Nebraska, but probably lives maybe in Iowa. That's a good question. If that student gets free or reduced lunches due to being directly certified, Iowa will cover that student. If it's due to a income application, you need to upload them on your file in Nebraska. So for the household, we would include the student that does attend school, but does it also include the kiddo that don't attend school but live in the household? So depending on the age of those students that live in that household, if they're on their application, feel free to submit them on your file and we'll weed through them. CEP only students who have completed an income eligibility form would qualify also, as they all eat free at CEP schools, but only the ones who filled out an income eligibility form and would qualify based on the range would have to be listed also.
I might need to read that one.
Yeah, CEP only students.
What time was that? I'm gonna look for the
What was
times.
it? 10:22. It was from Grace.
Okay. Gotcha. CEP only students who have completed an income eligibility form would qualify also. Oh, Grace, I can't remember which school you're at, though I know I recognize your name. Well, to clarify, they really shouldn't be completing the traditional meal application for benefits. You're not supposed to do that if you're CEP building because it gives the impression that they're completing that form in order to receive a meal benefit. And that's really not the case for CEP because all kids eat at no cost or for free. I just want, maybe you can confirm that they have completed the traditional meal application. And if that's the case, I don't know, Megan and I probably need to look into that one. So we'll write, I got your name written down here. I'll respond to you directly after we investigate the answer to that. And you said, but thing is in my way over here. Only the ones who filled out an income eligibility form and would qualify based on the range would have to be listed. Let's start with you sending us a copy of what that form looks like, Grace. And then I think that's going to help us answer the question about if those students qualify and should be included in your summer EBT data. Sound
Okay,
good,
great.
Megan?
I see you had, yep. And I see you
Okay,
had a few follow-up questions to that. Again, we'll follow up with you.
sounds good.
Lois, I have a family of 4 kiddos and only one of them attends school. So did the other 3 kiddos get included or not? I'm assuming those kiddos are probably not school age. So since they're not school age, no, do not include them. But if
Right.
it's easier for you to include them, again, we can filter it out.
The thing I want to be careful of on that is that if they're younger kids who are not in kindergarten yet, but for some reason have an NDE ID because they get additional or special support services at a very young age, because that can happen with kids as young as like 1. They're not in the school, but they get support services somehow organized through the district and get an NDE ID. They're going to look to us like they're enrolled in the district if they're reported in your advisor data, even though they're really not in the school building and don't get meals at school. So for that reason, I would encourage you to please leave those out, because if they're not getting meals, they don't come to school and eat and get academic instruction, then don't put them in your file, because of that risk that we have of like accidentally including them because for some reason they get an NDE ID assigned to them for extra services, but they're not really actually at school. I hope I made sense, Megan. Tell me if I have
No,
become
you did.
confusing.
You
Okay.
did. The only thing is, like, if they were, 1 year old, they wouldn't qualify anyways. They're too young.
But we're assuming operating on the, I don't, we have an age cutoff for like SNAP and Medicaid kids who are derived from strictly from DHHS info, right? Because this is getting in the weeds. That's not dependent on NSLP building attendance. All
Oh,
these other ones
yeah.
are. And so it's true, because a preschool aged kid, not in kindergarten yet, could be as young as what, 2.5 or 3, but they're enrolled in your school. They get breakfast during their school day. They qualify for reduced price meals. Technically, they'd be eligible for summer EBT. I really want to focus on if those kids don't come to school, or if their school day does not provide them with a meal through the school breakfast or school lunch program, then they shouldn't be included, is sort of, I think, what we should stick to, because you could have a variety of pretty young preschool aged kids who meet all the qualifications for summer EBT and should be included. Again, if they're not in the building and they don't receive meals through breakfast or lunch program during their school day, please don't include them, even if they live with the kid who's school age, attends school, and qualifies for free or reduced price meals. Hopefully I said it. Yeah. I'm sure I'll hear from people who want to confirm what I said, and that's a-okay. Please email me if you've got questions about that.
All right. Grace said, regular online app approval with mixed CEP and non-CEP qualify, but the CEP only kids who did income forms don't list, correct?
No, you should list them
Yeah.
if they're on an income eligibility form that was submitted by a household who has other students enrolled at a non-CEP building. Yeah, you would include all the students listed on the meal application that was submitted for the purpose of identifying meal eligibility for a student who's in a traditional pricing building where there's free, reduced, and paid, right? Even if some of those kids in that household go to CEP buildings, they've been included in that eligibility determination based on presumably household size and income. So you have this documentation, you can use it for the purpose of summer EBT. You just didn't use it for those specific students who attend CEP buildings for the meals they were getting during the school year. It was kind of like a void. We don't care if that household submitted a meal app for the CEP kids. We care for the pricing building kids. But if all the students or kids in that home were included on the app, it was determined as approved for free or reduced price, then all the kids on that app would be included in your summer EBT upload, no matter where they attended school or what type of building they attended.
Okay, Lois, do they get one card per summer with $120 on it? That is correct. It'll just be one issuance per child of $120 per approved child. If our tech department included everyone on their list to include all DC, you will already have issued the card by the NA date, April 23rd. Is that correct? That is correct. Is the $40 per student or per family? It's $40 per eligible student, which will be $120 for the summer. And they'll receive it all at one time again. If a family has participated in summer EBT previously and currently qualifies, will they receive a new summer EBT card, or will DHHS just reload their current card? They will receive a new one this year. What address would we use for the students that have moved from our district? The last known address you have for them. Do we include students that only received free or reduced through the 30-day carryover? Oh, that's a good question. I would just, okay,
It's
what's
a
your
good
guidance on that?
question. I don't know.
Because the other school would include them.
Let me read the question again. Do we include students that only received free and reduced through 30-day carryover? As in they got 30 days. Jamie, you're from Hampton, right? Yes. Okay. No, because that determination was based on last school year, which that program year would have been July 1st of 2023 through June 30th of 2024. And they didn't complete anything new from July 1st, 2024 and forward to now that would qualify them for free or reduced price meals. Therefore, they wouldn't qualify for summer 2025 EBT. So don't include them if their only meal benefit for the current school year was derived from carryover from the previous school year, and they've given you nothing new or you have no new direct cert information for them.
Okay.
Good question.
So if I have a student who were going to school here, but then left to go be homeschooled, do I report them since they are now homeschooled? Yes, you would still report them. According to the USDA, anybody that was in your school district throughout the year that qualified for free or reduced lunches, you would report them.
Yep.
So if I had an eighth grader who qualified for reduced lunch but will graduate in May to another school, we would enter them. That is correct. If you have the kids who received extended benefits through DC Student, do they receive the card after the first one? Would the DC student receive earlier and the other students receive when you receive our list? Yes, that's correct. Direct cert will be in that first issuance. The other ones will just be as we receive your list. If we have a split family, how do we determine which parent information to send? This is a great question, was asked many times last year. We ask you to use your best educated guess on who they will spend the majority of their summer with. Would they qualify if they have a Medicaid card but are not on the direct cert list? Only certain types of Medicaid qualify them for free or reduced lunch. So no, they would not. My guidance on that would be if they don't get free and reduced lunch at school, have them fill out an application through our website and we'll see if they meet the requirements. Grace said, I think you answered it, Katie, to the question she had above. Siblings of students in our school attend a private pre-K. Would we include these pre-K students in our submission?
I don't know what a private pre-K is. I'm guessing you mean not a pre-K at your school. But if it's not at your school, then don't include them because they're not attending school and don't get meals through the school breakfast or lunch program are the assumptions I'm making based on the word private. What do you think, Megan?
I would agree with that. And that would also be hard just because you know of this family that has students in a private pre-K, you don't know of the other family. So I would agree with that. One of our CEP families fill out an income application so they may also receive other district benefits like transportation, internet, musical instruments, etc. Are these to be uploaded to our list?
Jackie, is that an alternate form? Like a different kind of form that's not a traditional meal application? Because I know you have both CEP and regular buildings. So
It's a regular income application.
okay. Then yeah, I mean that technically meets the requirements for qualification for summer EBT. Just the thing we would want to follow up on is something we can chat about later, but not utilizing the traditional meal application form in the CEP buildings. I mean, I get sometimes CEP kids are going to get included on a meal app because other kids in the household attend a pricing school. But anyway, let's follow up about that, what that application looks like. But for the purpose of 2025, you've got all the documentation you need to determine their eligibility. So go ahead and include them.
Rebecca, we have students enrolled who are only here for 2 class periods per day and then homeschool the other portion of the day. They do not participate in the breakfast or lunch program, but they are approved for free lunches due to a case number on their meal app. Are they included as well? You guys got some good questions today.
Yeah, we want easier ones. The tough one. They're not there for a full school day. They're primarily homeschooled and they don't eat when they're at your building for the 2 class periods per day. So I'm going to write down your name.
And I'm assuming they are not on your direct cert list.
Just a master case number on a meal app. I wonder why they completed a meal application, but Rebecca, if you could put in the chat at the bottom here your school name, just so it's easy for me to read and write down. Megan and I will search through the Q&As and then provide you an answer and put it in the FAQ for others to read as well, because you can't be the only one who has that question or that scenario. Thank you so much for asking that. We'll have to follow up with you though.
Okay, I have a mom with 2 kids who are directly certified, moved in with a dad with 1 son. Does the son now get benefits extended? Not related, not married.
Mom with 2 kids, directly certified, moved in with dad. Dang. The way the eligibility manual is written, the answer would be yes. Because the kids who are on the direct cert list, presuming it's like SNAP or Medicaid, right? Benefits would extend to other students who live in the same household. That's the way the manual is written. We go by that. I know it probably doesn't account for like some nuance that probably is at play there, but yes, the the boy would receive the same meal benefit and be eligible for SEBT too. Good question.
We do have little ones that are getting SPED services only, but don't attend school, so I do not include them. Correct. Okay, Grace said, okay, we do that via our online regular application for mixed, but we have another app for only CEP family students for the purpose of free band instruments only. Is it 1 card per household or 1 card for each child? Well, DHHS tries to do it just per family, but again, it also depends on the issuance. When their child, say there's a child that attends a different school than the older child, it just depends on when the files come in. So sometimes they'll get multiple, sometimes they'll get it all on 1 card. It also is determined like if the mom, say for instance, mine was put in as Meg Peel, and then on my other child, it was put in as Megan Peel, I would end up with 2 cards. Lisa said, not a pre-K at our school. They do receive meals from our school, but the preschool is not a part of our K through 12 school.
I think that means that the preschool probably has some sort of agreement with your food service, or the food service department provides the meals, the preschool gets a bill and pays it back to the food service or back to the school. And so that's not the preschoolers participating in the National School Lunch or Breakfast programs, I don't believe. Therefore, you wouldn't include those students in your SEBT upload. But if we need to have a sidebar conversation just to suss out the details of the situation at your school, please, I'll reach out in an email later today for you, Megan, and me to make sure I have a correct understanding of what's happening, and then we can make a decision about those kids after I make sure I've got the details correct. So I've got on my list to email you, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, and then Jacqueline asked, should we not accept any regular free or reduced applications from students that are not in CEP schools?
Honestly, the answer is probably yeah. You should not be really doing that. I understand that they're going to do it anyway, though, because especially if they're just used to the regular app from having students attend other non-CEP buildings. I'll just email you, Jackie, and we can talk about maybe some best practices for handling that. I totally get, though, that in a district with mixture of CEP and non-CEP, people are going to get a hold of that traditional meal app and want to fill it out because they know it provides benefits for other reasons. So for now, though, you've got that meal application determination for free or reduced, even though they attend a CEP building. They probably completed it to get those other non-meal benefits. You've got the documentation. You can include them in your summer EBT file. Such good questions.
Okay. Joe Campbell would also like you to share the homeschool info with Columbus Christian as well. This might be useful for next year.
Gotcha. Thank you, Gothenburg. Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah. I also have that question about a part-time student. One of the kids attends and eats meals here, but the sibling only attends one class and is homeschooled for the rest of the day and does not eat meals here.
I'm going to sneeze. Sorry. I agree with the earlier answer we provided, which is they're really not there for a majority of the school day and they don't utilize the breakfast or lunch programs. That would make them not eligible for summer EBT based on the way the guidance is written for this program.
Okay, and then Katie said, someone had the same question, but I had a kiddo come in the office and I think I missed the answer. I had a family come to school and are direct certified, but left and are now homeschooled. I assume I include them in the summer EBT. We are a CEP. Yes, you would include them. Our school is out for the summer in May. If a family wanted to apply, do they do that through your application process? Yes. Just direct them to our website and have them fill out an application.
Such good questions.
Those are really good questions and gave us a few things to think about.
Gosh, we allocated our plan for about 90 minutes. We've used almost all of it up, so we planned it just about right. Anything you want to add before we close out, Megan?
No, I think we're good. And again, if you have any questions that we didn't address or it was still confusing, which is very, very possible, feel free to email us at any time. We are here to help.
I did what Megan said. Yeah. We'll send out the recording, an aggregated set of frequently asked questions, a link to the DHHS website, and we'll point out where to locate the summer EBT application from there. I'll provide a couple of informational blurbs that you can use and or adjust to share with households using your usual communication methods. It will include contact information for DHHS for those household related questions about their cards or benefits or eligibility. And then we'll send that information out within about a week. And we'll look to begin receiving your summer EBT file submissions sometime next week. And we'll follow up with questions we have of you if we discover any, but please feel free, like Megan said, to reach out to us if you have questions about individual students or households or any issues with your file upload. Thanks again so much. We appreciate your help and your partnership, and we hope you have a good day.